Live from New York.
What, KW?
I was going to be mean.
Do it.
Live from New York. It's a show that's having second thoughts about that Bears to the Super Bowl take.
I deserve that.
That was me.
I had the Cardinals to the Super Bowl.
Who'd you have this year? The Dolphins and the
You
Niners.
don't even know who.
Dolphins,
Dolphins
Niners.
and the Niners.
Not so
I'm
great.
looking real good.
Well, I would
Baltimore
say
and Green Bay.
I think I'm probably looking the best.
Well, let's say the NFC.
Okay.
I got my team's at least in the playoffs.
Why Brew is the only one who neither Super Bowl pick has been mathematically eliminated at the moment.
Yes,
So good job, Bob.
yes.
Dolphins have a 1% chance.
Same with San Francisco.
Is it down?
But they're,
Yeah.
Here we go.
We start with the 12-2 Vikings. Darnold and Justin Jefferson just keep winning. Brian Flores' defense stymies the Bears. Brew, we'll start with you here. Are you starting to believe Minnesota could win the NFC?
Not really.
Not really.
I like them.
Okay.
I like them a lot. I mean, they cover all the boxes. We know they got the great defense. They got one outstanding receiver. And Addison, second half of the season, Jordan Addison.
And Addison was good last year.
Yeah, he's a good, right. He started slow, but.
And Justin Jefferson, is it fair to call him one of the greatest ever?
Oof.
He feels to me like
he's
he
on
is.
that
Been the
track.
best ever. If you've been the best unquestioned pass catcher of the last
4 years.
In a great era of receiving.
In a great
Tyreek
era,
might have a
yeah.
little bit of a-
But go ahead.
He's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And Aaron Jones is a good running back.
Yes.
He's going to be over 1,000 yards.
You say Darnold?
And Darnold,
There we go.
but he's kind of on perpetual pumpkin mode watch just because of his past, 6 years, was it? 5 years?
His whole
6 years?
NFL career prior to this.
So pardon us if we're a tad bit skeptical, but I'm going to give him props. 29 touchdowns, fifth in the league, I think, in TDs. Of his 14 games, only 3 of them has he been below 100, really 103 as far as pass rate. He's playing lights out. I just like Philly, Detroit, and Green Bay better.
That's fair.
I just like them better. For me to start thinking, oh, they really, and I'm not saying they have no shot, but for me to really think, okay, they got a really good shot of getting out of the NFC, they're going to have to, I don't even say win out. If they lose to Seattle but beat Green Bay and Detroit and Detroit's going for it, then I will start thinking, okay, they can win this thing.
Listen, if they win their division, they 100% can win the NFC. Now it's a weird spot because, as I've been talking about seemingly ad nauseum for the last 3 weeks, is one of these teams that's 12-2 is going to be the 5 seed. Yeah. And it's not going to be Philly. Philly is locked in at either 1 or 2, but Detroit or Minnesota, one of them is. And again, Brew just said the schedule. It's not an easy one, what they have left. It might be the hardest schedule remaining, but they control their own destiny for the 1. They win out, they're the 1 seed. And so I'm more focused on winning the division and getting the 1 or the 2 versus just the 1. But here's why I think they could. The NFC, it's shocking how similar all the teams are in how they were made up. As far as the teams we look at as playoff teams or contenders, take the Rams out of it, every other one of them, it's like, oh yeah, well coached and quarterback people didn't really believe in. Every single one of them. Goff, team gave up on him. Philly, he's a second-round pick that his college gave up on him and benched him. Minnesota, he's on his 4th team or whatever it is. Green Bay sat on the bench forever and people were really questioning it. Tampa with Baker, if they're even, they're going to probably be a playoff team. Seattle, I don't think is a contender, but they're right now an 8-win team. Geno, all of it. And then, so it's like, okay, they all have maybe not similar talent in quarterbacks. And by the way, it was also true if the Niners were in it. You know what I mean? A Mr. Irrelevant. And all the, blue chip, we always believed in him, or he was immediately awesome quarterbacks are in the AFC. Every single one of them.
You think that's fair for J-Lo?
Well, Jordan Love, I do, because it was a shocking pick.
Yeah.
It's not like he was a no-doubt first-rounder. He wasn't a blue chipper in college because of where he went. He sat on the bench for 3 years. I remember the one game he played when Rodgers, the COVID suspension, they played the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And it was,
Right.
and the Chiefs barely won that game, and he looked, and everyone was like, what the? I remember you guys almost poking fun at the Chiefs for struggling, and it was a joke, me saying, Jordan Love, better than people think, because whatever. And
the first part of his first year starting, remember?
Yeah.
People were saying, they blew it. He's not that guy.
It's exact. And so then to me, and I'm not saying all the quarterbacks are the same caliber, but what I am saying is, again, Stafford and the Rams are in a separate situation where it's tough to fully 100% believe in the quarterbacks of any of these teams. Right. Maybe Darnold more so than others. But so then it comes down to, okay, do we like their coach? Detroit, he's not a perfect coach, but we like the coach. Green Bay, we love the coach. Minnesota, I love the coach.
Yeah.
I think Todd Bowles is an underrated coach. If we bring in the Rams, I obviously love McVay. So then you're like, okay, how good are the defenses? Minnesota's defense at its best is as good as any defense in the conference outside of maybe Philadelphia. And so when you check all those boxes and when the superhero quarterbacks are all on the other side of the bracket, of course you can get through your conference.
And to your point, it's been that way for a while in the NFC. You look at the quarterbacks that have gotten to the Super Bowl recently out of the NFC. Purdy, Hurts, Stafford, I think he's a civilian. I mean, he's got great talent, but he's been in the league a long time and didn't have any success till he got to the Rams. Jimmy G, Goff, Foles.
Yeah, you're
Nick
leaving
Foles.
out Tom Brady.
Because Brady and Cam Newton are kind of the superheroes.
But Matt Ryan.
And everybody else, Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson.
Matt Ryan was electric.
No, Matt Ryan had
really
one
good.
amazing year.
Yeah.
Like
he had that one great year.
He was a top 5 pick. I understand where you're, but it has been very disproportionate from even during Brady's heyday. Brady, Manning, Roethlisberger.
Yep.
We're all in and it was Aaron Rodgers obviously in the NFC, but didn't make a bunch of Super Bowls, right? So,
how far do you think Sam Darnold? I'm a Sam Darnold. I'm ready to keep Sam Darnold on the Vikings right now.
I want to keep him at the right price.
Okay. Are you keeping him? Like, if they're out in the first round, are you keeping it? Like, what's your line here? If he wins the Super Bowl, it feels like you have to bring him back. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go with the rookie. But at what point do you say, I want Sam Darnold, or this is the line of demarcation?
So I'm a process guy. I'm also how much do I think Sam Darnold is doing this because all of a sudden he became great versus they have built an excellent team. They do have a great head coach, and that fits really well for the quarterback that they targeted. So anything short of winning the Super Bowl, I'm going with J.J. McCarthy.
In the Super Bowl, you're like, goodbye?
I guess let me rephrase it. Anything short of winning the Super Bowl, I am considering all of my options. In the Super Bowl, I'd be open to it. But again, I think if it were Darnold in the situation Purdy's in, where it's like, well, we can keep him next year for super cheap either way, that's totally different than are we going to make a Daniel Jones-esque mistake where a guy who had a huge sample of bad football, 1 year of excellent football, we then commit to him and it puts us in a bad spot. Because they do have to make a real decision, Brew, with Darnold that's financially, you're not going to have as good of a team.
For the Baker Mayfield deal.
I don't think you can because he's a true free agent. I don't think you could.
But I don't know what who's paying him big money.
I agree.
Outside of Minnesota.
So I think we're going to talk about one of those teams when we talk Kirk Cousins, but I think the Colts potentially. I think the Colts, like the team, the folks there need to win. It's been a lot of they're not terrible. I mean, maybe.
Another year of just put him on like the odd Jordan Love
We knew he had very little football experience.
I agree with you, but the fact that they already benched him once, we don't have to talk Colts right now, but yeah.
All right, on the other side, the Bears lost their 8th straight game.
I was trying to avoid this one.
Caleb brought his sack total up to 58. It's the third most for a rookie since 1970. Okay. Change your outlook on your favorite quarterback? Second favorite?
No, it hasn't changed my outlook. It's been such an odd year. And listen, I feel like I was obviously dead wrong about the Bears. I don't feel like I was dead wrong about Caleb. He has not played up to what my instant expectations were. But I also think I agree with his point about frustrating and encouraging in this regard. It is statistically, you look at it, a bizarre
For him.
For him, it's a bizarre pay. Like, do you know how many interceptions he has during the 8-game losing streak?
Yeah, 0.
0. The answer is none. Which is it's the first cousin of my too many picks, too few picks takes from training camp. Like, that's actually a problem.
Yeah.
You actually need more interceptions as a rookie.
Do you think he's scared to throw it?
Scared is not the word I would use, but yes, he absolutely is too hesitant to make a mistake throwing the ball, and instead is making a ton of mistakes not throwing the ball.
Yeah.
Taking hit, you know what I mean? Those are all just different mistakes.
To support that quickly, the first halves, they don't score.
No.
You know, and I think that is him. The game's in the balance still.
Yes.
He's cautious. Second half, they're down pretty big.
And
he lets it go,
chances.
and he's actually played fairly well. So that's
yes, and so his numbers this year are almost identical to C.J. Stroud's this year. Now, I do not think he has played as well as C.J. Stroud, but I also think his 20 best plays match right up to see like his.
CJ's been bad.
Right, CJ's had and CJ was going into the year. Remember, the conversation was, well, can Caleb do what CJ did? Now CJ goes in the other direction. So I worry about rookie quarterbacks when you don't see the upside plays when they were an upside pick. So I have seen a ton of the upside plays from Caleb, but I also have seen a hesitation that I didn't expect. Scared, again, feels too cutting, but fearful, I guess, is the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? To like hesitation, not make mistakes. And I'll let Brew play lead singer for this part of it. The body language is a player that is not only in his own head, but more frustrated than he's ever been as a football player. Yeah. And that's discouraging. I don't think it makes him a bad guy, but I mean, it's not. It does seem immature. I will say that.
Yeah, I'm with. Look, that body language, unless you're like writhing in pain from your ribs, or unless you're like, man, I'm dying out here. That's inexcusable. As a leader,
you're right.
That's the thing. You're trying to lead grown men, and they're looking at you now. They're saying the right things, which is great, and I have no reason to believe they don't like him. But when you see your leader doing that, it's not a good look at all. He does look defeated, and it looks childish and immature, like you said. Look, he's having what I kind of expect generally from rookies. You know, the C.J. Stroud last year, Jaden Daniels. I don't expect that generally. Bo Nix, am I shocked he threw 3 interceptions last week and looked bad? No, he's having a rookie year. And Jalen, I expect, them to be up and down. Now, he did have a lot, of help around him. The offensive line is bad, but everything else, the defense was really good for a while. The receivers, the running back, DeAndre Swift, obviously the coaching situation has been a mess. But here's where I'm at on Caleb. I have gone from thinking when he came into the league, he's going to be a star. Now, will he be a superstar? We'll see, but he's going to be a star. Now I'm like, we'll see. I like some things I see, but I don't like some. Like, I think a couple of his biggest problems. One, he doesn't play on schedule very well. He had that little stretch where he improved in the middle of the season, was playing on schedule.
I don't know if that's the OC or play calling or what, but there's all.
But it was the same guys for a while.
Highlighting stuff that he's just missing.
Well, that was my second thing. Inaccuracy. Yeah. Like he's thrown some great passes, but he's missed a lot. So and his inaccuracy bothers me too.
And I want you to go, but that makes me think he's in his own head because he was not inaccurate in college.
So that's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay.
So this is what Troy said. He was grimace. As you watch him, I can tell he's a defeated guy, which is not good. I mentioned he hasn't been through anything like this. Quarterback losing confidence. Then he went on and said, you watch him in college and he doesn't miss these throws, and he knows he doesn't miss these throws, and yet he has. It speaks to the interceptions thing. I know we make fun of you a lot about the Super Bowl take, but I don't think that we're not the only show on in the planet. A lot of people were very optimistic.
A lot of people had him in the playoffs.
About the Bears. But the idea that Troy...
God forbid I had him winning a couple playoff games. Jeez, I just get to be the bad guy.
Beating the Lions.
I thought Troy was so cutting during the broadcast, and the fact that it was from Troy, who had what you kind of put up as, along with Peyton, as the perfect bad rookie year. He had 9 touchdowns and 18 interceptions. They went 1-15. But he's like, you know what? I'm going to turn it loose. We have no expectations. I'm going to throw the ball all over the place. The fact that Caleb refuses to throw an interception, he certainly could.
So I think that it was beginning of the year coaching, and I'll explain that in a second. First of all, listen, I think Troy's great. There's also maybe a little USC-UCLA rivalry. I'm just saying, like, it's on the board. Troy also transferred out of Oklahoma like Caleb. Okay. Caleb goes to USC with UCLA. I'm just saying,
maybe,
like, but
he's out there batting down passes.
Regardless,
Allen.
There was a moment this preseason during predictions week where Bruce said something to me that I tried to play off, but I'm going to be honest. It rattled me to my take core.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Which was, I was going through the reason not to believe in the New York Jets. And I really hammered home the coaching point in all of it. And Bruce just spit back at me. He was like, but all of that applies to the Bears who you have going to the Super Bowl. And I tried to do a little 3-card money on it, but in my head I was like, Jesus Christ, he's right. I was like, oh no. And so, listen, I am not trying to make an excuse for Caleb. He obviously has been he has not performed to the level I thought he was going to do this year, but I think there has been enough high moments to where you can. I'd still take him number 1 overall. I know you'd take him 3 because you're grading Drake May on a very big curve. That's fine. But Jaden, most people would take number 1. That's fine. Like I still believe in it.
Would you admit this on Caleb? I think he's been stunned that his athleticism hasn't translated to the NFL.
And
now he's still a plus athlete. But he's still a plus athlete.
Yes.
He's obviously far more athletic than enough, but it's
Jaden's
not.
has.
No,
Drake
Jaden's
has.
No, I don't know that
Drake May's playing in such a different situation. Like, no expectations.
I mean, you could just. Well,
but Jaden's has.
At Mahomes Mountain, we can look at the Bo Nix versus Caleb rushing stats. Yeah. And if we did it blind, you'd be like, oh, that's Caleb?
No,
that's Bo Nix.
I disagree with you, though, because I think Drake and Bo's they have tried to use their athleticism to gain yards running. Caleb has tried to use his athleticism to stay a passer.
Do what he did
and do what he did in college. Those are 2 very different things.
Okay.
I think Caleb probably should have been running more.
He would have been better off if he took off.
Correct. And he was trying to stay. So this is where I get back to the coaching. I think Eberflus just really drilled into him. Our defense is going to be so good. Don't make mistakes. You know what I mean? And Waldron drilled into him. Listen. You need to develop from the pocket as a passer. So he's thinking back there, don't throw a pick, keep going with my reads, while some of these other guys are playing more on instincts. Again, it's just what I'm seeing. Maybe it was all a mirage in college. I don't believe that, and I think there have been enough highs in the pros that that's not the case.